viewers, my name is Nagari Joan, and today on the show we are joined by Ugaman. I'm sure most of you follow him. His Twitter handle is at Ugaman. How many views?
I think now we have 111k.
Exactly. So, in relation to the context that we're having on the effect of internet shutdown in Uganda on e-businesses, I figure this is the right person to talk to so that he gives us a perspective of what exactly it means when we have conversations saying that the Facebook shutdown has affected businesses, especially the e-businesses. Now, first things first, would you give the viewer who doesn't know who Ugaman is, who is Ugaman?
Hello everyone that is watching. Thanks for tuning to her channel and please subscribe.
Watching and listening.
Yeah. So my name is Mwebia Fred. I'm professionally an accountant and I'm a marketer by passion. Yeah, I practiced accounting for 8 years and then quit my job to go and do my own things in the marketing and content creation area. So many people know me as Ugaman, and that's my trade name. So I do online content, I do strategies for brands, and I also help brands realize how to leverage on the internet. So this topic we're discussing today is very personal.
Personal to you. So please explain to the viewer who is very oblivious, what is e-business?
E-business is any business that you're doing but has an arm that uses the electronic devices for you to be able to reach out and make sure that you deliver your business and take care of your customers very well. So e-business has an element of the internet, say online. For example, if I have a shop in Chikubo and I operate traditionally, but then I actually happen to have a Facebook page or a Twitter page or a website, and I put the same content that I have in my shop on that website for people who are using the online platforms to reach out to me or for me to reach out to them, that also qualifies to be an e-business. So anyone that is doing something online and you're using the internet as your major tool to facilitate that business, you qualify to be doing e-business.
So from your explanation, regardless of the fact that I have a physical location for my business, the fact that there's a digital element,
yes,
it qualifies to be an e-business.
Definitely does.
So from that, dear listener and viewer, we need to understand that you need not be only an individual, even a very large company can qualify as an
yes, that's very true. For example, I'll tell you that the biggest e-businesses are in the finance industry. Many of these have established headquarters, they have branches, but they happen to be the biggest players. So meaning anyone that owns a business, irrespective of whether you're too big or you're too small, by using the internet and the tools that use the internet to run your business, you still have an arm of e-business within your company.
So on that note, help us understand, because I took some time really dug through your timeline.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to you? Why have you been an ambassador for making sure that the accurate, and I quote, the accurate numbers are discussed in regards to the businesses and individuals who have been affected by the Facebook ban?
I think first and foremost, for us to be able to make decisions and rational decisions, we need to have the right data. The moment you have wrong data, you make wrong decisions. So many examples have happened. People on TV addressing the nation and they are not sure how many people they are addressing. So many also, I won't say organizations, but people come out to speculate. Now, if you're going to take a right decision, you need to know the right data. The reason I always advocate for us to have the right numbers is because we need to make the right reactions. Okay, so like on my timeline, I always say the people that are supposed to tell us how many people are using the internet in Uganda is the first step for us to make any decision. Whether you want to tax them or you want to waive off the tax, you need first know how many people you're dealing with. Once you don't have that database, then you are only playing in a poised state. You don't have a final destination where you want to go.
So is that why you felt the need to attack? I used to say official.
No, I actually did not attack, but it also happens that the gentleman actually gave the wrong statistics. The figure he read to say there are 32 million users of the internet in Uganda was wrong, but there are 32 million people who they say own gadgets, according to their own report. So he misinterpreted his own report, and I had to take it to Twitter to tag UCC until his boss came out and tagged the report, and it showed that he was supposed to say there are 22 internet users, 22 million internet users, not 32. But unfortunately, that was actually even posted on a mainstream media. So this is why it is very, very important to be vigilant. Otherwise, we go and make the wrong decisions. And I know somewhere, somehow, we're going to talk about, you say the internet shut down. I will talk about Facebook. I'll talk about the numbers. I have a reason why I think Facebook should be turned on. Because shutting it down is shutting away 3.4 million people that use this platform within Uganda. Okay? We also need to understand that we have Ugandans that live in the diaspora. So if those Ugandans keep checking out your content, you are necessarily not talking to Ugandans within Uganda as a territory. So we need also to differentiate that, because still the general, I heard him saying there are many more Facebook users. You check your content. Yes, there are Ugandans in Dubai, there are Ugandans in Canada, Ugandans in USA. They still look out for content that comes from Uganda. Yeah. But if you go into the Ugandan territory, you have 3.4 million users. And that's where we start from now. You block the site where they get their information. What have you left them with?
Okay, so purposes of this discussion, the context of the shutdown, we are referring to Ugandans in Uganda who have been consuming information in Uganda.
Yes.
Because those are the ones that have been affected.
Yes.
But if you're watching, listening to this episode and you're in the diaspora, there's a high possibility, of course, for you not affected, because the shutdown was purely Uganda.
Yes, it's a territorial thing.
Exactly.
So when you talk about the 3.4, we're not counting Ugandans in Dubai. We're not counting Ugandans in Canada, South Africa, Kenya, anywhere. Those are not actually counted as Facebook users from Uganda. The territory Uganda had 3.4 million estimated. We are talking about Ugandans within Uganda.
Exactly. So on that note, the 3.4 million that we're citing is as per some the data collected by Data Portal, which was as of July 2021. That is as far factual resources that we have. So we're right now in September. There's a high possibility it increased because we had another lockdown, which was I think 45. If I'm not mistaken, I'll get the factual
So necessarily the number has not increased because ever since we had elections, the site Facebook has been affected a lot. The shutdown also led people actually switch from Facebook to other platforms. So we basically may be actually having a reduction slightly in that number than an increase.
Oh, so why do you say reduction? Is it the infrastructure? Is it the incrementing data charges?
No, the data charges have been high even before. The unpredictable environment of the internet in Uganda is actually one of the things to blame, but also more specifically, the ban that was put on Facebook has chased away so many people from getting information on Facebook. And the reason is very simple. People are actually required to download a virtual private network tool to help them be able to consume what many people call VPNs, to help them consume any content that is within Uganda's territory if you're within Uganda. So this means that for someone who actually does not have the VPN on their tool, on their gadget, they won't be able to consume that content. Two, if you're using VPN, your gadget changes location.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
irrespective of whether you're watching content on Facebook or Twitter, if you go to the trends on Twitter and your VPN is turned on, you will only be seeing trends that are global. If you turn off the VPN, the territory will go back to read where the gadget is, and you will see the Ugandan trends. So meaning, people that want to keep up with the Ugandan conversation will turn off the VPN. Because Google will be sending them wrong adverts in their apps.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
every other app they use, they are going to be seeing apps and adverts in different languages, which are not even meant for Uganda. So people turn off the VPN and use the other apps instead of Facebook.
Yes.
So meaning the consumption of content on Facebook has gone down. But that is not even very strong. What is even stronger is that you can no longer have the capacity to target a message to the Ugandans.
How so?
Because the Facebook users currently in Uganda are not in Uganda.
Oh, the diaspora element.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when it comes to geotagging as a technology, you just cannot target Ugandans.
So the new development, the Facebook market development, I know yes, prior to shutdowns it was active, but now that Facebook has officially launched it, would be a bit of non-functional, for lack of a better word. Because remember, it relies a lot on your geolocation.
Yeah, definitely. Ugandans are not going to be part of that equation. That ecosystem is going to consider people whose operations in terms of the ICT and internet usage in their locations do allow the gadgets and the tools for Facebook to detect where they are. So for Uganda, no, we are not part of that. Yeah.
So I think from this conversation, dear listener and viewer, you can pick the fact that one, in as much as yes, we have a new development like Facebook Marketplace, but if you weigh in and you've been using that ecosystem, you will realize that it's geo-tagged. So with the fact, like Fred here has explained, it makes connecting the buyer to the seller almost impossible because geolocation is...
It's actually not almost impossible, it is impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. The moment you're using virtual private network, it is totally impossible. Because even when you have the money to run the adverts, you are running those adverts for nobody in Uganda. So I'm sure people who have been running adverts on Facebook will comment on this video and tell you that ever since we started using VPN, I get very small engagements. Very few people engaging with my content. And the reason is simple. It's because people don't see your content.
Yes. So if you are watching and listening to this show, please help us in the comment section. Leave a comment telling us where you are, where you're listening from, and also if you have had experience with Facebook Marketplace before the lockdown, and if you're using a VPN, please leave a comment and tell us how exactly the shutdown affected, if you compare before the shutdown and now after the shutdown. We'd really love to hear your feedback, and it will inform a future conversation because, like I said, from Yugaman's activity, this is something that is very passionate to him, and this is something he intends to keep pushing further. So we need to keep encouraging and maintaining this conversation. So my second question is, like I said, would like to understand, we keep talking about numbers, saying 3.4 million people use Facebook in Uganda, and those are the people who have been affected by the shutdown. Help us break down those specific individuals or company.
Okay, first and foremost.
On that note, Mr. President has always told us that we use social media for gossiping and Lugambo. So help us differentiate who is Lugambo, who's using for Lugambo and bad manners, and you who's pushing, saying economically we have been affected. Yeah,
so I would want to appreciate the place where the president is coming from to say we use it for Lugambo, because that's what he thinks and that's what he knows. And you see, that's how the internet is perceived. Your usage gives you the bigger picture of what you think it is until you discover that it can do more things. So the internet penetration in Uganda is, I think, one of the slowest in East Africa. And the internet rates in Uganda is one of the highest in East Africa. That already gives you the picture of where we are in terms of the East African community. So let's start from who is using Facebook.
Yes, please.
We're going to start from here, me and you, with people that are using Facebook.
Yes.
But also, let me make this disclaimer that we have one of the highest rates of unemployment in this region.
East Africa, what?
East Africa. And that tells you that a lot of people educated with skills do not have jobs in any offices or organizations. Even the government doesn't have the capacity to take up these people. So these people are left. I'm going to be clear on this. I think
there's something that you have said that is fire.
Yes.
So, dear viewers, just to clarify, I remember seeing someone comment at some point in time, and I think if you've seen this comment, please leave a comment. Someone said they did not know that Sudan is East Africa, that Burundi is East Africa. People, Burundi, Sudan, they are all Southern Sudan. That is the East African region. So Ugaman is saying that we have the highest unemployment rate in comparison to even what is happening in South Sudan and Burundi. South Sudan is a country wrecked by war, but we have the highest unemployment. So keep that in consideration. If you're from South Sudan and Burundi, please leave us a comment so that.
And the reason is very simple. Unemployment is actually measured on the parameters that you have people who are capable of doing something but don't have that something to do. So these people are educated, they have the skills, but they don't have what to do. So you may also have an audience which is not skilled, which is not educated, and they have nothing to do. So there is a bit of difference. Yeah, so coming to your question, who uses Facebook? The widows doing personal businesses, the students doing startups, the young innovators who are actually innovating ICT related platforms. How do they use Facebook? Facebook is a huge platform that has invested a lot of money in research on sentiment and data. So as a young person in Uganda that is planning to innovate an ICT innovation, you need to understand how many people are likely to use it. Where is this database? We don't have a database in Uganda. Even the Ministry of ICT has not invested in that database. These young people are using Facebook as a mining area for that. So meaning, once you close Facebook as a data ground, you have closed all the guys that are doing innovations. So startups, fintechs, all crashed. And that's the bigger picture we need to talk about. We may need to talk about, I support people power, I support NRM. That is casual talk. And for me, I say it is casual talk because at the end of the day, none of those two words is providing bread in any household.
Those are very heavy words. You are speaking to people's...
No. Because we've got to say this. If I ask the Minister of Finance today to tell us what the impact of the internet shutdown has been in the previous times, they don't have any data.
So...
In fact, in this video, I hope when it's out, I'll share this with the new PS, Mr. Ramadan Bobby. If he has any data related to how much the internet contributes to the economy of this country, let him prove it by putting it in the newspapers. If he doesn't have it, it's the reason they will never come out to tell you that information is money. When you talk about Uganda losing 1 billion shillings every 24 hours because Facebook is blocked, we mean people that can't trade because of the information exchange. That's where the parameter is. So if BOU, if the Minister of Finance, all they do project is 2020 something, if they can't be able to account for this information power and how much it weighs in terms of our economy, I think we're in the wrong space.
So if I hear you correct, you're a big advocate for the big data industry because
it's the future.
Yes, it's the future, but it's right now now the conversation is being stirred a lot to the data economy. Dear listener, if you've noticed from some of my blogs I have in the past, I'm going to put it somewhere on the screen. Like he has said, data is the future. It's the next best thing. But if you notice from my blogs in the past, it also raises a lot of questions with data privacy and all that. So where do you draw the line on that parameter?
Okay.
On mining data and data privacy. Remember that safe border saga?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I happened actually to know about it before it even burst out. But
hey, you have an inside source.
No, I don't have. But these things are available there. Like if you dig out information, you get to know. But before you actually talk about data privacy, do we have the data?
Yeah, I mean they were using.
For example,
they're using the app.
For example, if Safe Border has invested to look out for a certain community that can use their bikes, okay, and where is the return on their investment?
So you're arguing that the return on their investment?
No, I'm not saying they should go ahead and encroach on people's privacy, but I'm asking if an investor comes and sets up a venture and they sell this venture to the people to sign up, what our government has to do is to regulate. If they don't regulate, data privacy will be breached. So you don't blame the tech giant for data privacy. You blame the regulators for not doing their work.
Actually, now relinquishing that responsibility. I mean, all of us as stakeholders, we have a duty in the value chain.
Yes.
The data source, the data collector, the data manager.
Yes, that happens. But you see, also one thing I think we need to discover here is what we call data is assorted information. A lot of what people think is data is actually information that is not assorted. Now, the investors in these innovations want to have that assorted information.
Yes.
So the regulators need to tell them that this is a go area, this is not a go area. How many women use Safe Border on a daily? Should that be revealed to Google? Yes or no? And it is very clear if the regulator can cite it out. And if Facebook or Safe Border is found breaching that, then they can be held accountable. Without an infrastructure to protect the population that is using innovations, the talk about data privacy remains a talk. It cannot be executed. So in other words, there is a layer that is missing. The regulation and regulating what is actual. Because if you want Facebook to come to Uganda and pay you, show them that you're helping them do the right thing with your community. But for the minister to think that Facebook has to pay tax, when you actually are not on a platform where Facebook will say, we have done this in Uganda, how are you relevant to us? If we were relevant in terms of our structures in this country to Facebook, Facebook would have held very special meetings to this day. But
so, if I hear you correctly, up to now, there's no ongoing conversation between
the conversation is actually between NGOs who think information is important and who are funded to say people need to communicate. They are talking to people who are locked, who think Facebook is a gossiping platform, who do not think that Facebook has a lot of young people innovating, who do not think that Facebook has a lot of startups. And their marketplace is that platform. So when you're talking to such a person, they will tell you, no, we think it is for propaganda. I do agree that Facebook can be used for anything. But I also agree that there is a bigger picture. So for someone to say that, because when you talk about people power on Facebook or talk about NRM, so it becomes a political tool. I don't think and look at it like that. But also, there is this notion that has been going around, those giants want to control us. but they run our budgets. Like, let's be realistic. We run to IMF to run our budgets. So what are you saying that those giants want to control us? When you have someone who tells you that construct that road, don't construct a hospital. When someone is saying construct more dams, don't construct more markets. We are not being realistic. Because if we were, we would let these giants open up their resources, tap what we need, chase them if our industry grows.
So you want us to use them, dump them, and wait.
That's the thing. That's how technology is built.
Mr. Zuckerberg, if you see
You
this,
use what is available.
I'm not subscribing to this analogy.
You use what is available, and you take what is important to you. What is not important, you discard.
Okay, so dear viewer, listener, if you're trying to follow this conversation and you're a bit lost trying to understand what we mean by data privacy, I'm going to leave a link to a blog where I explain, and also a video in the description box. It will give you an understanding of what we mean by data protection, data privacy. It will explain the bigger picture here so that you can understand why this is a very central element in this conversation. And then two, I'm also going to leave a link to another blog that will also help you understand the implications, your duties, responsibility, and also, yes, the legal implication of having your data breached. But as Ugaman said, yes, there's regulation in a country that protects your data. Therefore, if someone like Safeboard breached your data by selling it without you knowing, there would be legal implication. So, Ugaman,
yes,
I would like you to help us also understand, because the civic spaces have been having fancy words and fanciness in their conversation, talking about digital marketers. You've explained to us what an e-business is and an e-ecosystem and e-commerce. So that, I think at this point, viewer, listener, you are understanding that. If you do, please leave a comment and like the video and the podcast. Help us understand, who is a digital marketer? Are they the same as influencer? Like what?
No, a digital marketer is actually different from influencer, but one person can be both. A digital marketer is a storyteller using digital platforms. Call it advertising, call it PR, call it anything. Whoever masters the art of storytelling and has the power to shift people's thinking, ideas, and choices qualifies to be a digital marketer. So if you're out there and all you do is talk about what's trending in the newspapers, you pick the radio conversations, you haven't yet got into the space. Because the real space is, you actually, if you've listened to a story, now I'll give you a quick example. If I listen to a story about you doing something on radio, the ability of me using that story to relate to my audience and make them move to a certain direction can make me a digital marketer.
So basically, I need to be a storyteller.
Yeah, because when we go to 101, marketing is raising awareness. Marketing is promotion. Marketing is branding. So storytelling has all these elements. You brand, you promote, you tell. So that qualifies you. But of course, what now makes it digital is you specialize. Maybe you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat, and that's where you're telling your stories from. So the moment now you move from that and say, if you're selling laptops, if you're selling phones, I can help you tell a better story and sell your phones more. So, and also in our industry, a lot has been created around, and many young people have got the wrong impression, thinking that if someone is a highly trending topic and you talk about it, that makes you a digital marketer. No, it doesn't. Actually, the real thing that makes you a digital marketer is being able to use that space to tell a story that is moving to your audience.
So you can, to put it in simple terms, you've used too much English.
Okay.
But to put it in simple terms, if I get you correct, if I get my phone,
Yes.
open my Twitter account, and then I say, I tell a small story.
Yes.
I got up in the morning, I was craving a very nice beverage. I walked to the store, I saw this very nice bottle, it looked appealing to me.
Yes.
So I bought it, and person B reads my tweet and they are so impressed by the story. Then they say, and my tweet I didn't say buy, but the person will say, I'm going to buy said drink because the person I read the story from spoke to me.
Yes.
That is digital.
Yes, that's actually digital marketing. Now, you've also had people, many people that go for conferences and stuff, people saying, you're a brand, you're a brand, you're a brand.
Mm-hmm.
That is the origin. Because when you come to the digital space and you start to craft yourself within that space,
Yes.
the digital space is huge, billions and billions of users.
Mm.
You come and create your own space. Immediately you create it, you are a brand within the digital space.
Mm.
If your brand can be used to tell other people's stories, meaning you are telling stories of other brands,
Yes.
and you're a marketer.
You are.
So whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you are into NGOs and politics and anything, so long as you use this space to tell stories. For example, if I told you that in culture, many people would come to visit this country if we had people that actually tell what our spaces look like. When you move from the Buganda region to the Busoga region to this, if you find someone that knows how to craft that, they're marketing our region. So that's how you become one. But that, without mastering the art of using storytelling to convert, you don't consider yourself one.
So is what we've been explaining is a digital marketer.
Yeah, because there is what they call amplification.
Mm.
If I told you that I sell phones, tell people I sell phones, you're going to amplify what I have told you.
Yes.
But if you came and bought a phone from me and told people that, hey, Uganda sells genuine phones, I'm enjoying my current one that I purchased last year, you are marketing. So there is a difference. So if you go to an organization and they craft for you something and say, hey, go and post on your social media, you are amplifying.
You're amplifying what they've told
Yes.
you. So that makes you
So you can qualify to be an influencer, but definitely also not the high-end influencer.
if you just copy pasting.
You copy and paste, you amplify the message. Yes, a few people will read it, or many, but your creativity of moving people has not been involved. And that is what is most important.
Okay, so if you've understood the difference between a digital marketer and an influencer, and you feel like you fall under that category, please give a
Actually,
comment.
maybe I should also give a context. Influencers are movers. That's the right word.
They just
So influencers are not only on social media. Influencers are movers. They can be on stage, they can be on radio, they can be on TV, they can be within our localities. Those are the influencers. So if you have the power to move people from point A to point B, or even bring them to the middle, you definitely have the power to influence. But you cannot have the power to influence if you have not built a brand. So that's also very important.
So yes, like I was saying earlier on, if you feel like you have built a brand and you think you've understood and appreciated the context of this conversation, leave us a link to your brand, social media, whatever, and we'll definitely check it out. And I think Yugaman would also be invested to, considering his experience and how much traffic he has, I think he's someone who would be more positioned to help you understand if what you're doing would qualify it as a brand, a digital marketer, or an influencer, right?
Yeah, there are actually so many experts on the internet. So quite a number of people that will watch the video, and that's the beauty of the internet, that you don't dominate the opinion.
Yeah.
There's always somebody who will come with the same opinion in a better positioned way.
So we'll just be having an interaction in a
Yeah,
comment
definitely,
section.
definitely, and that's what makes the internet special, because it's a point of convergence, and points of convergence bring various aspects of life, various intuitions, various ideas. Once you have them together, fuse them, then get out something productive.
Okay, somewhere on the screen I am going to leave the links to Ugaman's pages on Twitter. You have to definitely go and check him out. You could learn a thing or two on how he has really positioned himself in the market, and you know, just talk to him. He's a friendly guy. I just slid into his DMs this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I slid into his DMs, so you, who knows? So Ugaman, Facebook is not the only platform that we can use for digital marketing.
Yes, that's very true. Yes.
Why are we making noise about only Facebook? As yeah, the shutdown has affected us. We can still use Twitter for e-commerce and YouTube. So many, Snapchat, TikTok. Why only Facebook?
So the reason is simple. Facebook is the big brother of social media. And if you compare how much Facebook has invested into the platform to make it user friendly, is much more than all the other platforms.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is one of the things that we must understand. Look here, it's not because Facebook is going to pay us a lot of money in taxes. Facebook is going to make it simple for users to use the platform and promote themselves. That is why we need it back. Twitter is good, Instagram is good. They are not as good as Facebook.
So simply because it's user friendly.
Yes.
That is it.
That is an aspect that brings the community to this platform to be able to use it. Now that's reason number one. Reason number two, Facebook has the highest number of Ugandans registered on it. Why do we want to shut out a platform that has the highest number and start playing with platforms that don't have people? Because if you're going to communicate, you don't communicate to small groups if you have an alternative of communicating to a bigger group. So why don't we open Facebook? Even government needs to communicate. I won't mention, but sometimes I'm saddened when I watch the Uganda police do their press briefings, and you check, and they're on Facebook Live with 39
views.
people that are watching. Why block a platform that can have 10,000 people watching per minute?
You raise a very good point.
So, I mean, the equation is in the middle of the table. If people want to think politics is what is going to drive the future, we understand it's a wrong ideology, but because of the political egos, it's meant to be correct. But as an individual that has actually been using the platforms, and I have been able, maybe what I didn't tell you is, I left my official job in 2018. Between 2018 and now, I survived because of the internet.
Yes.
Now, a person like me, and being told by a politician who has been voted into power to say that the platform that is helping me survive is useless, I really don't think it's true. And I really think we need to cut down our egos, sit down and think about the future of this country. People are getting left behind on what they're supposed to be doing, but the fourth industrial revolution will not leave behind our economy. We either part of it or we make losses.
Be that change or that change will change you. Yes.
So I don't know if I answer why we are making the noise and why Facebook is very important in this ecosystem.
Okay. Another question that I think we have to address. So, if we were sitting right now,
Yes.
and Mr. President is behind that camera,
Yes.
or perhaps even Bruce, no, he can't hand to us, so we have to come to him.
Yes.
He has allowed us to grace him in person, and he says, Ugaman, I have had your plea on social media. I am here in person. Tell me, how would you make a plea to him? Because he's going to say, the typical answer we've been getting justifying the Facebook blockade is for national security reasons.
Yes.
So how would you sway him to change his mind in the interest of national security?
So first of all, I'll remind Mr. President that our population is about 42 million Ugandans, like he mentioned previously on his speech. I'll also remind him that out of the 42 million people, there are 32 million people that own gadgets. So I'll put it to him that that is more than 50% of the population in this country. They own a phone. Because he needs to be convinced. They own a phone. So whether they are receiving a text message or they are receiving an email, they own a phone. Then I'll come to tell him, Mr. President, you have the highest rate of unemployment in this country. But you have been advocating for people to go learn skills and start businesses. These people are not established in towns, in cities. Where do you expect them to set up their businesses?
Besides doing it virtually.
The phone has that application. Because this is the explanation the president is lacking. I can tell you, the president is much aware that economies in Europe and the USA and other parts of the world are thriving on the internet. But he's not aware who is using this internet. Okay? We have less than 10 million voters. Tell me how the political talk is not just mere talk. How do you start comparing 32 million people that own gadgets, 22 million people on the internet, compared to 7 million voters? And you look out, okay, out of the 32, remove the 7. Where is the bigger percentage? This is the discussion our head of state is not having. But also, I don't blame them, because recently, people are playing matatu on their iPads in parliament. This is a reality.
I need to put that in a video.
This is a reality. And I encourage Honorable Speaker Olanya. I saw the other day, the budget for iPads was about 2 billion shillings. If people are going to continue to play matatu on those iPads, our spaces are not going to change. So, that conversation from our population to how many young people now are using these gadgets. They are not employed in offices, but these young people are doing liquid soap, they are doing furniture, they are doing mats, they are selling shirts and trousers and dresses. Facebook has the capacity to give them a platform to reach out to their buyers. If the president says the future has to be secured, why doesn't he secure it from the young people? These questions are valid. And it's not because we love to talk politics. It's nothing to do with politics. Because economics drives politics. Although politics can drive economic policy. So we must also put it to the table and say, Mr. President, the 18 million young people are all using the internet. All of them, out of the 22 million people, the 18 million young people are all using the internet. So if the president wants to talk to the young people, he knows where to go. If he still thinks that the young people are reading newspapers and watching TV, and that's where he wants to form the future from, it's still up to them. But people like me, who know what the internet can do, I'll tell them straight on. They made a wrong decision. No tech giant will invest in Uganda with these decisions. No Facebook will set up an office here. Alibaba will never come here. Twitter will never come here until something is done in that space.
Very, very strong words. if I was president, I was this way, but I don't think, anyway, it is beside the point.
No, but he doesn't get access to this information. Those that are supposed to tell him only clap when others who feed him with some partial information, I won't say wrong information, but they give him partial information. So those who are supposed to correct it are already silent. For maybe job security, or to look like the good guys who are pushing the agenda, but at the end of the day, the future is at stake.
Strong words. So, why do you think it's individuals like you, influencers and digital marketers that are, and civic space that is really pushing this conversation? Are multinationals and other large companies that are not SMEs affected by this? Why is it mainly individuals and civic
very interesting
spaces
question.
that are pushing this? I mean,
Very interesting question. So I'm just going to remind you that the so-called tech companies we have in this country were actually the first to become giants that wanted to cheat Ugandans.
Imagine.
They were the first to become giants that wanted to cheat Ugandans. The first people to buy phones will tell you they paid service fee.
Oh yeah.
For a phone that you bought and owned, and there is nothing the company is doing about it, but you paid service fee. Later on, this was scrapped. How many billions of shillings were made by these tech
From the
giants?
service fees.
So, there is little or nothing at all. As a person using the internet, I expect from MTN, I expect from Airtel, I expect from Africell. Because these giants survive on cheating Ugandans. And I will say it again, even when URA comes out to say MTN is a big taxpayer, they cheat Ugandans massively. They cheat Ugandans through airtime, expiry, mobile money, data, and all these things. Imagine you now taxed with a new social media tax that cannot be accounted for. And no one has come out, even the tech giants, to show us how much of our data is now taxed. You understand? Yeah. But there is a 12% somewhere. So what are Ugandans buying? If I'm buying 7 GB, how much of the 7 GB is genuine? You get what I'm saying? So the giants rule it out. MTN will never come out to say, put back Facebook on. Because that's how they survive. 2, the political environment has made it that when you talk against what has been said, you are deemed an enemy. Me and you are the people to break that stereotype. Because if we are going to talk about turning back Facebook on, let us weigh the reasons we have and the impact of those reasons. Let's not stick to the political talk because the head of state has said Facebook should go off. Let us weigh why Facebook should be on and why Facebook should be off. What carries more weight? You can't tell me we have a parliament that has actually bought iPads with 500 MPs. None of those MPs thinks how important Facebook is as a platform to this country. Not opposition, not NRM.
Ugaman. Even Bobby Wine, it's unfortunate that he's not in parliament right now, who used to share so much content on his platform.
Yes.
You still also saying he also does not have.
Has he come out? Okay, I would say yes. For him, he has come out to say.
Very vocal.
Yes, that open the platforms.
Yes.
How about his MPs that belong to NOP? Have they moved a motion?
No.
Nothing in parliament. So, this is about us. If the common people like me and you and many others remind these people that there is an important space that should be open. Do you know how NGOs survive in this country?
No, I don't.
They survive on money. This money is paid by somebody who is either abroad And NGOs are feeding people's families. They are not, basically, I'm going to tell you this. An NGO that comes out to mention what is perceived as contrary to what the politicians are saying is sidelined. That's the environment we have. So I won't hold chapter 4 and all these other guys. They know what to do. But when you do it, the next day you find your office is closed.
Yeah.
Okay? So Uganda is in a better position because I walk to my home where I pay rent. If the government wants to close it, will pay my landlord. You understand? So I'll come and talk about it because that's where my food comes from. So the politicians, the tech giants, this podcast may be, I don't know, by the good thing content stays. This is 2021. 25 years.
It will still be here.
It will still be here. People will remember how we were left behind because of cheap political evils.
Yeah, so on that note, you will also find a link in the description box where I give another example. In 2016, I think Amnesty International sued. We had another Facebook shut down 2016. Amnesty International sued to demand that Facebook is reopened and internet access is granted to all. But unfortunately, the judicial system itself literally failed us. There were delays, the case just kept pending, and as you can imagine, the wheels of justice sometimes just run too slow. So it will also inform the context that Uganda is trying to lead this conversation to. Lastly, how would you encourage any other individual to participate in this conversation, to partake in this journey, to influence, endorse, to participate in having the conversation that will perhaps contribute to unblocking of Facebook in the country?
I think actually it is something that is not complicated. I'll just ask people who own phones, who wake up every day to find updates, and how they get those updates, and how they verify. We need to educate policymakers, but not only educating them, we need to join them. I think that is the alternative that is going to work for us. Many of these policymakers are politicians, so they don't understand some of these things. And personally, in the last lockdown, I have had more than 15 Zoom sessions talking to different individuals, especially the Rotaractors, where some of these MPs are members. And so after speaking, they come to you and tell you how weak our policies are. Now, this is something we need to tackle straight on. If our policymakers are not informed, don't expect them to do something that informs the public.
Garbage in, garbage out.
That is it. So, let's join the conversation. Let us educate our policymakers. And how do you do that? A simple post about reminding your MP or a simple text message telling them to open Facebook contributes. As the civil society do not have the power to actually drive government, even though they have the capacity. Those two are different. Because civil society has highly intellectual people with very great ideas, but the power to move government is cut off. The capacity to bring the ideas is 100%. So the conversation is, as civil society brings these ideas, let us be part of the conversation in educating policymakers. A policymaker who is not informed cannot make good policies for the people. And for me, that is the journey MTN, Airtel, Africell has actually pulled out now. MTN and Airtel, they are money machines. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. They only pretend to give you a little when they feel it is important. But they don't care about you.
Viewer,
if MTN does care, you'll put this up. And even on my Twitter, I'll put it up. If MTN does care, let them come out and say how many times they've gone to UCC to discuss reopening of Facebook. Let them just come out, let the PR come out and say how many meetings have been held by Airtel and MTN to reopen Facebook.
Viewer, listener, I am going to leave linked in the description box somewhere. There's a blog I did about mobile money. Mobile money transactions have been one of it's like the pool source of how much revenue you lose even without noticing. So
now the level of theft in mobile money, Airtel can only testify maybe 100 years from now.
So yes, you would definitely need to check that out. It will help you understand why Uganda is very upset about why corporate multinational companies are not participating in having the conversation to urge the government to unblock Facebook. So, finally, Uganda, any closing marks you have for us?
I just want to inform everybody that is going to watch this video. The future is in our hands. The future is in that phone. The future is in that laptop. The future is on the internet. Every industrial revolution has its own fuel. The fuel for the fourth industrial revolution is the internet and data. You master those two, you'll have the attention graph. That is what I can say.
Thank you very much, Uganda. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. This is the Ask Me About the Law podcast and YouTube channel. I am going to leave the context of today's conversation in the description box. I am also going to leave the link to his Facebook and YouTube. You definitely need to check it out. If you enjoyed this show, leave us a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions you'd like to direct to him at Sugarman, I am also going to leave linked, like I said, to his social media handles down in the description box. Also engage in the comment section. He will definitely be there to respond to any questions. Until next week's episode,
don't forget to subscribe.